Hello everyone and welcome to another Scots Whay Hae podcast, and today I'm joined by writer Chris McQueer to talk about his debut novel Hermit, which is published with Wildfire Books. Hello Chris.
How you doing, Alistair? Thanks for having me on again.
It's great to see you again. I was thinking just before you came around that it was 2018 and that is not yesterday.
Oh, it's a long time ago. It doesn't feel that long
ago. No, it didn't to me either. I was really surprised.
Right.
So, and I'm really interested to talk to you about Hermit for all sorts of reasons, but before we get stuck into it, can you give listeners a kind of brief synopsis of the book?
Right, so Hermit's my first novel. It's about incels, so it's about involuntary celibates, so it's this kind of online subculture of guys, and they kind of form their whole identity around the fact that they have no success with women, they can't lose their virginity and that kind of thing, but there's a real horrible edge to it, a real nasty side to it, well, these guys really become really misogynistic, really horrible, and some of them have gone on to commit really atrocious acts of violence. So with this book I just wanted to kind of look at how does somebody fall into this online subculture. So the book's about a wee guy, Jamie, relatively normal wee guy, but he left school when he was 16, he's now 19 when the book starts, and then for those 3 years he's not left the house, he's not left his room, he lives in absolute filth, lives with his mum, she's a single mum, she's kind of dealing with the aftermath of a breakup with her abusive ex-partners, Jamie's dad, and the book kind of charts their relationship, what's kind of gone wrong for them, and then how Jamie descends into this horrible, murky world. Because
it's kind of split chapter by chapter, one's Jamie, one's Fiona, that's the way it kind of works. I think that's really interesting because you get the full picture and you get empathy for Jamie's situation that you might not have had otherwise. You get a fuller picture, I guess, of the whole kind of situation of it. But why, for your debut especially, was this a story that you wanted to tell? What was the kind of inspiration behind it?
I don't know. The first of all, I had the characters. So
right,
Jamie
okay.
and Fiona, they came to me really, really clearly. I knew I wanted to write about a mother and son with a kind of fractured relationship, with a lot of kind of trauma in their past. I had these characters bubbling away for a while. I was just trying to find the right story for them. So the first draft of Hermit, it was a end of the world kind of apocalypse novel.
Right.
So it was still called Hermit, but it was these two, mother and son, total hermits, the same kind of setup in what has become Hermit. But then the end of the world breaks out, nuclear war breaks out, and these two hermits have to go out into the world and try and survive and try and find the granny, try and find Jamie's granny, Fiona's mom, but and then repair the relationship as well. But when I was writing it just felt like the end of the world stuff was just a big distraction. It was just like background noise.
Right.
The interesting thing was these two people. The rest of the stuff just felt like nonsense. It made it really unrealistic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just didn't work. So I get quite far into that, and then I realised this isn't good. It read like a fan fiction version of The Road, just with a mother and son instead of a father and son. I felt like it was just, I don't know, it just didn't work.
So it was almost science fiction, right?
Aye, basically,
yeah.
Kind of dystopian science fiction. And then I remember I'd watched I'd been watching things on YouTube about incels, and I read Men Who Hate Women by Laura Bates, and she was talking about incels.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, this is really interesting. This is a really horrible wee online world. And then I started digging about the forums, just going on to just have a look, just have a nosy. I was just like stunned that these people existed and talked to each other like this, and they thought these things. And then that kind of sparked the idea. So then I went back to writing the book, and I had the next version of the story was Jamie and Fiona again, but Jamie kind of kills himself really early on in the book. And the rest of the book is Fiona trying to find out why, and then discovering that he was involved with incels.
Okay.
But then I thought, well, Jamie's quite a good character, I quite like him, and I've just killed him within the first sort of 10-15 pages, so scrapped that, and then eventually we landed on Hermit, and I just wanted to kind of shine a light on incels and how easy it is for vulnerable wee guys to get drawn into these places and get absolutely radicalised, brainwashed, and
because Jamie and his pal Lee as well, who turns out just lives around the corner, even though they've never met. They kind of get lost on. Well, they find each other online, but they're kind of lost in, for want of a better word, the real world. And it's really interesting to hear that you had the characters and it was finding the right situation for them, because it's really character driven, the whole thing. I think
definitely.
Even the secondary characters. We'll talk about Jamie's granny, who's a brilliant character as well later on. But and I can see that if you had these characters, it was just finding the right situation for them to be realistic.
I think so. I try and make it as kind of grounded and believable as possible. I think that makes things kind of more tense, more dramatic, and also makes them a wee bit funnier as well when you bring in the later moments. So it was just about making it believable.
And also, in your writing in the past, in your short stories, I think one of the things that connected with a lot of people and did with me was you had a great sense of place. Most of them are set in Glasgow.
That's right.
Most of them are kind of folk people could probably relate to and at least empathise with, and it's the same here. So I wonder if, taking it to the end of the world or whatever, it kind of lost that a bit, maybe.
Aye, that's probably it. I think so. It just didn't feel right. Aye.
And I guess with your debut, you really want to kind of make sure that it does feel right to you.
That's it. Aye, absolutely. If I'm not happy with it, then people that shines through in writing. If the writer's not happy with what they've written, and then you can tell a mile away that they weren't comfortable writing that, or they know themselves that it wasn't their best work. So you need to really make sure you're comfortable with the story, make sure it feels right to you first of all, and then everything else should hopefully fall into place.
And so you mentioned that you went online to kind of do a bit of research into the incel community, if that's the right word. I mean, was that a concerning thing to kind of even dip your toe into? Or did it kind of shock you, or where you thought, I know what I'm going to see here?
I had an idea what I was going to see. I've been on the internet for a long time, since I was a wee guy, and I've seen some shocking things, like inadvertently, do you know what I mean? The stuff I saw in the forums was really shocking. Like, I was like, Jesus, man, I thought I was quite desensitised.
Yeah.
Reading that, like, come on, man, you can't be saying that, like, Jesus Christ. Just, level of violence and the things they were talking about, I was really shocked by how they spoke to each other, because for a lot of these wee guys, they've came to this place really lonely, looking for some kind of connection, a kind of community that they can belong to. Yeah. With other people they can relate to. And I was talking about this in another interview, like, there was a post, and it was they would post sometimes pictures of themselves and ask the guys on these forums, like, what can I do to improve how I look, to try and make my life better and this kind of thing, and would you say I'm ugly and all this? And the wee guy posted a picture, and just the most normal looking wee guy you can imagine. Yeah. Just normal wee guy, and all these guys were like, no mate, you're so ugly, like, it's over for you, you're never going to get a bird, like, you just need to let it go. Like, I was like, this is how their pals are talking to them. Yeah. This is horrendous. No wonder they're all just totally heads gone. Like,
but what you get with the conversations, particularly with Lee, because let's kind of talk a little about the characters. Jamie, as you say, he's kind of agoraphobic, isn't he? He's not been able to get out. He's left school. He's not been able to get work. Not really wanted to get work, and he's in the house. And then Lee, who's younger than him, is that right? Yeah. He seems to already have kind of got a bit of the lingo and got a bit of gallousness, if you like. Aye. But only in the way he speaks to Jamie. You know, it's like, I know a bit more about this than you. I know what we are. It's him who first brings up the word incel. And it's that difference, I think, often, and you see it all the time online and generally now on social media, where people have the bravery, to say things, or they think they can say anything, but they never maybe have any intention of doing anything about it. But what we see then later on, when the guys go down to London, is the reality of what they're talking about and what that could possibly become.
That's it. And just what these kind of conversations can lead to, and just how sort of dangerous these kind of communities can be. You know what I mean? And
because they're kind of groomed, in a sense of groomed as for a gang, if you like.
Aye. That was another thing I kind of noticed on these forums, was there was definite grooming going on. There was older guys in there definitely preying upon younger, really vulnerable guys. just as a wee aside, this is a wee bit of funny incel lingo. To them, if you reach the age of 30 or over and you're still a virgin, yeah, they say you're a wizard. They say you gain kind of powers. But anyway, these wizards are preying on these wee guys.
That's so interesting.
Aye.
Because actually the kind of a stereotype of maybe the kind of quiet kid who didn't have a lot of pals or whatever it might be, would be perhaps you would get in a Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. I know it's a huge stereotype, but there is this thing about, it sounds like it's those kids are finding a place online where they can still get together and talk, and really that's what Jamie's looking for, isn't it? He's looking for a pal. Mm-hmm. But there's other people able to kind of take advantage of that. And the other thing that's been, which has not changed, is older, most often men, nearly always men, taking advantage of the young and the vulnerable as well.
Definitely, aye. Just totally getting their claws into these wee guys, making them do things in a more comfortable way, just totally abusing them, you know what I mean? And it's so sad to see, and aye.
So this is that's, I'm going to say it's a difficult book to read, and in places it is a really difficult book to read, but it's also really funny in places, because you get, the relationship between the mum and Jamie, and kind of only communicating over phones and text messages, even though they're in the same house and things like that. And then you've got the kind of forceful figure of the granny, and who's just fantastic, and the kind of misunderstandings that Lee and Jamie have as well. So there's a lot of humour there too. Mm-hmm. But was it difficult to write about a subject like this and that kind of area of masculinity as well?
It was, aye. As I got really into writing this book, when I settled on the story and the plot and stuff, I found it more and more difficult. Writing a novel in general, I found really difficult, but I didn't make it easy for myself with the subject matter. So the research wasn't easy. You're coming away from reading these forums trying to get ideas and stuff, feeling bogging, feeling like, Jesus man, I need a shower. What if I'm on some kind of watch list now if I go on these forums? Do you know what I mean? And and then just trying to be really careful as well with what you're saying, because you don't want to be seen as being sympathetic towards incels, and certainly no, but I do feel sorry for these wee guys, because there's really, really vulnerable wee guys just kind of stumbling into these forums and being preyed upon. I feel sorry for them, and it was just difficult trying to balance that, toe that line.
I think you do that brilliantly, because you do empathise with both of them, even though, as I say, Lee's a bit more kind of, he's the one that gets them down to London and is forceful, and we're going to meet this guy. Hopefully, if I give any spoilers, will stop me and I'll edit it out. But you do empathise with both of them, because you're giving it the context of what their life was like at school, what their family life's like, and just the situation that they both find themselves in. And actually what comes through with real warmth, and it continues through the novel, is their relationship. Which actually, yes, at times you think, oh no, don't do that and don't say that, I know what you doing. But actually they've got each other.
They have, like male friendship can be a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to show, like how good their relationship could have been for each other if they hadn't stumbled onto the incel world.
Yeah.
They had each other. I wanted to show that kind of the tender side of it.
Yeah, no, and absolutely, and it does do that. Did you, again, we'll move away from any spoilers, but how did you approach it? How did you had the characters, and then you had this maybe scenario about incels and what you wanted to do, but did you know where the story was going?
No, at the start, no. I didn't really know where it was going. I was just writing it. I think I got about, when they got to, I knew they were going to get to London. I knew they were going to meet a kind of horrible guy, but I didn't really know what was going to happen after that. I get really stuck, and I tend to write just winging it, just see what happens. But you can't really do that with a novel. It's a lot more difficult. You really need to know what you're writing towards.
Right,
I think,
yes.
to make things make sense. So I really thought I could just wing it, and then I would write myself into corners, and big plot holes and stuff would appear, and then I took a step back and I was like, right, let's go back maybe 10,000-20,000 words and let's plan, let's go through it chapter by chapter, let's be really meticulous. And then as I started doing that, ideas started coming up. It felt really good. And I think working to a plan really, really made a big difference to my writing, and it really helped me get to the end. So that, and obviously the plan would change as I was writing.
Sure.
That's fine, you just keep updating your plan.
Well, I mean, I think the structure works really well for a number of reasons, but that kind of makes sense. And what you want to do is, because you're engaged, particularly with Jamie and Fiona, I think you really come to care about both of them, is that you want to read what's next for both of them, and actually how their individual situations, both of which are really difficult, move on. And then eventually, some kind of resolution as well. So did that help, having that structure? Like, right, this is a Fiona chapter, I'm going to move that story along, and then this is a Jamie chapter, and we'll see what happens next.
Definitely. I think one of the things I struggled with was it was just the kind of logistics of the characters, like getting them from A to B and making things make sense, to have them move to different locations and do things. I think having that structure where you flip back and forward between point of views, it gives you like a wee time jump as well in between, and it lets you move the characters about and make things make sense. And it was nice kind of telling sort of the same event from a slightly different point of view as well, and maybe seeing their thought processes regarding the same events, and maybe the kind of unreliable nature sometimes of the human memory and stuff like that.
And the thoughts that, Jamie thinks he knows what his mum is thinking, and then you get her actual thoughts, and vice versa. She thinks, well, Jamie's not doing this because of this, and then you get the kind of, the horse's mouth, so to speak. And so, was that the major difference from writing short stories? When you wrote your short stories, they were almost little snapshots of people's lives, and then you would move on to the next one. But with this, there had to be a kind of narrative arc, is that the right word for both of them?
I was that used to writing short stories where the action maybe takes place over like half an hour or a day, so you're in and out. You've maybe got 1-2 characters max. You know that you're going to end on a kind of punchline, a daft twist. It's really easy. If you want to change something, you only need to go back a few hundred words to edit it to make it make sense. Whereas with a novel, you've got just 50, 60, 70,000 words, and you need to go back 30, 40,000 to make something make sense, and then you do that, and then something else doesn't make sense as a result of that, and it's just a big game of Jenga.
So, I know you've worked with editors in the past when you're doing your short story collections, but was the editorial process, working with an editor, different for this one?
There was a lot more work involved. So I think I got the first edits off my agent in 2022, and then started working with the editor at the publisher Ella, and didn't finish that until kind of last summer.
Right.
So it was about 2 years worth of editing in it. So, and I think just one of the hardest things was just being stuck on the same thing for so long. It took up so much of my life. That was 2018 I started writing it till 2024, so that's 6 years of my life, you know what I mean? That's quite a big chunk.
It is a big chunk, and then you got, I was going to say, as we mentioned earlier on, you were on here in 2018, so really you'd already started it, and was that when it was the end of the world?
That was that,
yeah. So let's think about the two characters, because Fiona and Jamie are brilliant characters. Did you have them from something previously, or did you have them sitting waiting, I know these guys are going to be in my novel?
I had them for a while. I kind of like Fiona's kind of loosely based on my mum, not quite. There's elements of my mum in there. Jamie's kind of elements of me, elements of my wee brother. I thought, it'd be good. Then they kind of morphed into the versions of Jamie and Fiona in my head, and I knew I wanted to write something about them, but I didn't know what. And then I also really wanted to write an end of the world novel, really wanted to write something about that. And then I thought, just stick them together.
Yeah, that'll be easy. Yeah.
And it didn't.
So do you still want to write an end of the world novel?
Aye, I'll get to it eventually.
Excellent.
Because that's like what I love reading, and that's what I watch a lot of, like end of the world, post-apocalyptic stuff. Fascinated by it, so eventually I'd like to give it a go.
So again, it's similar to a question I asked earlier on, but when you're writing these characters who you clearly care for, is it difficult to write them into such dark places?
Yeah, a wee bit, aye. You do start to feel kind of sorry for them.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to someone recently, I can't remember who it was, I should remember, but saying that when, I tell you what it was James Yorkson who's got a new novel out, and called Tommy the Bruce, and the central character is this guy Tommy Bruce, and again he's someone who you really empathise with. He's lost his parents, he's running this hotel in the middle of nowhere, and I said, yeah, I really I cared about Tommy, and you kind of wanted to know what happened next, and he said, so do I really think about him. And I wondered if that's the same with you. Do you kind of really, do the characters you come to really be concerned about them?
Aye, definitely. And it's quite interesting. I'd never really noticed this before. I spoke to David Keenan a wee while ago. We were talking about characters and stuff, and he was saying, do you ever get surprised by what your characters do? I was lying, and you know what he's like, he's amazing. He goes off on my tangents and sermons. He's talking about how, you know, characters of the day, they exist out somewhere underneath other universe. You're just tuned into them for that moment while you're writing it and stuff, and you end up sort of surprised by what they do and what they say and what they think, and it's really weird.
I suppose that's one of the things about writing a novel, is that the characters will do things, and I've spoken to many writers, and it seems to be right across the board, that you did not expect them to do.
Absolutely, aye.
Whether that's good, bad, or heroic, or whatever.
Aye, and you do sort of do. I've not really thought about what happens to them after the book, which is strange. It's as if I was kind of, I don't know, peeling back the curtain and looking in them while I wrote the book, and then now
you put that.
Right, they'll be alright. They'll be fine.
So
aye, they'll be fine after.
Yeah. Well, I spoke to David Keenan last time I did, and he was saying how in his new book at the time that he was, she's back. You know, like, he didn't expect this character to come back. Genuinely, I was like, oh, brilliant! I really like her. You know, yes, that kind of tuning into people that are out there. I do like that idea. And so let's talk about the secondary characters, particularly Lee and Jamie's granny. I mean, two again great characters. How did they come about? You had your central two for a while, but how did the kind of secondary characters come around?
I believe I like the idea of Jamie having a sort of a nice foil, you know what I mean, a nice kind of character who's kind of like him but a wee bit more confident,
a
wee bit more, like you say, Gallus, and so Lee kind of arrived quite soon after. I imagine, you know, what kind of guy would Jamie talk to, you know what I mean? Just kind of think back to like pals I had at school and the things they would say, and then it kind of morphed again into Lee. It kind of took form of Lee, and I quite like that idea. Like, Lee's a wee bit younger than Jamie, but Lee's definitely more masculine, and he's more kind of assertive and Gallus, and I like the idea that even though he's younger, Jamie would look up to him. Yeah. He's the one that's kind of in charge, really.
I
thought it would create a kind of cool dynamic, you know what I mean? Because although Lee's more sort of dominant and more out there, Jamie will be slightly more mature. So he'll maybe think, oh, well, we shouldn't do that, but feel like he needs to, because this other wee guy's a wee bit more dominant, like I say, and I just liked that wee kind of back and forth. And
did you have a picture of what they looked like? Did you kind of build a picture?
I had Lee as a wee ginger guy.
Yeah.
A wee kind of lanky ginger boy is what I pictured, a wee bit kind of taller than Jamie, a wee bit more filled out. That's what I had in my mind. And we've got Jamie's granny as well. Yeah.
Brilliant character.
Loved writing her again. She's kind of loosely based on my granny.
Right.
She's kind of taken to an extreme, you know what I mean? And so I love my granny. She's a total force of nature. She's a typical Glasgow woman, you know what I mean? Like,
well, that's exactly what Jamie's granny is, her force of nature right from the start.
That's it, aye.
Kind and caring and all of those things, but, you know, we'll let you know the way that things should be.
Exactly how my granny is with me. She knows when to give me a kick up the arse. She knows when to put her arm around me and stuff like that, and I love that dynamic, you know what I mean? And I think, like, my granny's absolutely my role model. One of the things that I I wanted to kind of say was that, like, we talk about we guys needing strong male role models in the day. There's also strong women.
Absolutely, yeah.
Amazing role models. Like, I think my granny's just the best person in the world, and just gets on with stuff, doesn't let anything hold her back, just does it, knows exactly what to say, when to say it. And just, I'd love to be like you.
Well, I mean, she's really in the long run, kind of this, not the saviour, but the kind of strength behind the other two, you know.
Aye, definitely.
And because let's talk about another two characters that are not as let's say you've got Jamie's dad, and as you said, a kind of abusive character who's kind of no longer on the scene, although he does kind of, there's a horrible night when there's a horrible night with him and Jamie, isn't there? That's and then Fiona's reaction to that is kind of really physical, isn't it? There's a real kind of physical response. But also this guy Seb that they go to meet in London, the creepy Seb, and he really, I mean, they're really the kind of the extremes of awful behaviour in both sides. Was it important to show that is the extreme, you know, while we're empathising with these younger boys, sometimes this leads on to extreme behaviour.
Absolutely, just trying to show, you know, where this kind of stuff can lead, you know what I mean? So Seb is like a really rotten, evil, rancid, vile character, really horrible man. And I felt like he really needed to be, and he needed to be manipulative to get these two boys down there, you know, and just so. And
if they had been any older or a bit more worldly wise, they wouldn't have gone anywhere near him.
Oh, absolutely.
In fact, when they do see him, you know, they're like, well, hang on a minute, this isn't what. It reminded me a little bit of Fagin and the kids, you know, they're young enough to kind of almost look up to him a bit, even though we know that, well, this is no good.
Absolutely, So, they needed to be horrible and manipulative enough to get them down there, and just that kind of horrible guy, just guys like that out there, man.
Yeah.
And Danny, like, there's plenty of men like him out there, do you know what I mean? He's kind of loosely based on my ma's ex-husband. Well, I say loosely, he is based on him. Horrible guy.
So was that difficult to write a kind of character like that who is kind of, again, very manipulative, particularly trying to get back into Jamie's good books, if you like, or just into his books. You know, these characteristics, were they difficult to write, or were you thinking, I know that's how some people are, and therefore, you know, it's not, I don't stay with these characters, definitely, because, you know, I can write about them and then I can just leave them.
I couldn't have wrote a book that the main character was like that. I don't think it's no nice writing about that
no,
kind of stuff.
You need to have, I'm assuming, I'm trying to think of examples, even extreme examples. I'm trying to think some Bret Easton Ellis characters, you know, American Psycho, where, you know, they were, but at least you think, well, at least Bret Easton Ellis sees some kind of good in Patrick Bateman. I think you probably do have to have some kind of empathy with the central characters, or else you just wouldn't.
100%, you wouldn't bother, I just wanted to show that there's guys like that out there, and this is the effect they have on other people, and, you know, there's a element of kind of personal responsibility that I feel like I could have done it better in the book, because I think we talk a lot about, you know, how trauma leads you down these paths, and it turns people into, you know, not bad people, but makes them do bad things, and there's an element of personal responsibility. You do need to look at yourself and go, right, I can't blame everything on what happened to me in the past. I need to look at my behaviour, because I think, you know, somebody like Danny, there's guys like that in real life, and they must know that they're doing something horribly wrong that can't be making them feel good. Why are they not stopping? What's the matter with them? It boggles my mind. But
what people often do, it seems to me, is justify to themselves that what they're doing isn't bad.
That as well.
You know, that actually the people that they're doing this to deserve. I mean, it's kind of what Seb says, isn't it?
Aye, definitely.
The terrible things that he's trying to get the boys to do, the person deserves it, you know, and then even they see that this is not right. So there is, they certainly, Lee and Jamie do get that personal responsibility that, you know, they go, no, this isn't where we thought it was going to go. This is not what we were promised, and all of those things. And I totally, when you said earlier on about you see the characters and then you close the curtain on them, I can imagine in this book that you kind of go, yeah, everyone here has their role to play in this book, but some of them I don't really want to spend much more time with.
That's it. That's exactly it.
And another thing which struck me and I hadn't thought about for a while was the role of what happens in school and how that can really shape, particularly just after when you've left or whatever. You know, if you've been bullied or had a hard time or whatever it might be, or just ignored, I guess, then, you know, that can really shape how you view yourself going on. And often people are staying in the same area that they went to the school, so they're kind of almost defined still by the things, the roles that were led, and that comes through in the book as well. That's kind of what's happened to it's happened to Jamie and Lee, but actually I'm thinking, could you even say that's what happened to Fiona, that she was kind of defined young?
I think so, aye, definitely. I think so much can happen, you know, especially when you're at secondary school. It's your formative years, your brain's developing, you're developing as a person, your personality's forming, and there's all these big life changes happening around about you, you know, and you've got the pressure to deal with exams, to fit in at school in general, you know, your body's changing, the way you look's changing, everything's changing, and you're just in turmoil all the time.
I mean, those, you know, let's go secondary school, those 4, 5, 6 years, depending on how long you're there, everything's changing, isn't it? I mean, I remember going away one summer and coming back and having to get new gym gear and everything because I'd shot right up over the summer. Suddenly I was at the second tallest in the year. And of course that's going to change you.
If you don't have a good experience at school, the kind of scars for that will stay with you for a long time. It will definitely shape who you are as a person. And
perhaps if it's been negative, push you into
roads and paths you don't want to go down. Yeah, definitely.
So do you think, actually, I thought you, and I know for a while you were going into schools and talking to writing classes or English classes and stuff. You still doing that?
I've not done it for about 2 years now. Yeah. Since I started my new job, so but I missed doing that. That was always good fun. One of the best times I did, going to tangent.
Yeah, right.
One of the best times I did, it was in a school in Clydebank, and it was like World Book Day, but I was to work with like primary ones. I never worked with kids so young before. Yeah. Jesus Christ, what am I going to talk to them about?
Have you read my books?
But I went in and was just kind of telling them that I'm a writer and that you can't read my books, maybe when you're older, kind of having a laugh with them and stuff. Well, there was this one wee guy, and he, like, when I came into the class, he like got up out his seat and he had like really nice ironed trousers, really shiny shoes, his wee shirt and all that was all tucked in, his tie was perfect, his hair was perfect. And he came out and he like shook my hand as if he was like the teacher. And he was like, "Hello mate, nice to meet you." I was like, "This is a wee man, let's get on." And then he's like walking me around the class, he's got his hands in his pockets and he's introducing me to people. I was fascinated by this wee guy.
Wow.
And I was like, "What do you want to do when you grow up, wee man?" He's like, "The thing is, you know, I want to be a police, but my dad wouldn't like that." And he was talking like a guy as well. I was like, "Oh man, this wee guy's amazing."
You wonder what shaped that. Yeah.
Just a wee man in a boy's body. It was fascinating.
I know. I spoke to Sam Best, you know, the writer. Sam Best who teaches, and I think you'd been in at one of his classes,
right,
and he said it was one of the first times that folk were actually listening to what was being said. Have you done anything with Hermit yet, or is that still to come?
No, yet. I'm quite keen. I'd like to kind of go in and talk about, you know, masculinity.
Yeah, I think it would be a really interesting book to do. I know I spoke to Alan Bissett last year, and he'd been going into school with his latest book, which was a lot about that masculinity. And I think, you know, there's so much that even though the characters are out of school, they're just out of school and almost, you know, shaped by what goes on in school.
Something I'd like to do and talk about more. I'm still kind of figuring out, what does it mean to be a good man?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's right.
We know what not to be like. We don't really know what we should be like, if that makes sense. It's not good enough to just not do the bad things. What makes you a good man? And
do you think
fascinating?
Do you think writing about it helps to answer some of the questions, or at least with giving you other questions, or
Aye, I mean, it's helped me kind of formulate my own thoughts on it. 'Cause it's not really something you think about unless you're prompted. Do you know what I mean? If you're on your own devices, you're not going to sit and think, "What am I a good man? What does it mean to be a good man?" But writing about it kind of made me think about it a bit more, and it's interesting. Aye.
No, I was thinking about this recently about how. Obviously, I read a lot of books, but a lot of it, at certain times, bits of music as well, come to you, or certain books come to you, and you think, oh gosh, yeah, that's what I was thinking, I just didn't know that's what I was thinking. And you kind of get lessons from a lot of them as well, and it kind of helps you over the years. And I just wondered if writing was like that as well.
Aye, it does. Aye, you have your characters say things, and you're like, oh, not that come from.
Where's that bit of wisdom comes from?
Because it's me.
But that is interesting as well, isn't it? The kind of anger, or the concerns, or the worries, or even just the little bits of wisdom that come out of characters, are they the kind of things that surprise you?
I wonder if maybe the things that your characters say are what you need to hear, do you know what I mean? Or
the
kind of advice you need to be taking, or something, or what you would tell yourself in this situation if you could talk to your younger self or something. I don't know, but it's quite interesting. Must be the subconscious.
Yeah, I guess so.
Walking away, flinging things out.
Yeah. And do you think you've changed as a writer through writing the novel?
I'd like to think so. I hope people can see a difference in my writing for the first two books. Really, really, really tried to get better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I read back my first two books, I'm really, really proud of them. I really
should
like
be,
them.
yeah.
But, I feel the writing's quite raw, and I look at the kind of sentences and stuff. I really wouldn't say that like that. I would maybe add in that, or make that shorter. Do you know what I mean? I feel like, I think it's a good thing. You should always be trying to get better at whatever you do.
Yeah.
But I really struggle now writing short stories. I've tried to write a couple since I finished Hermit, and they just grow arms and legs. I can't get to the point anymore. I'm not used to having all the room to breathe that you get with a novel. But
that's you become a novelist now, Chris, rather than a short story.
And it drove me mental writing this because I found it so difficult. And then I know I'm going to put myself through it again. You know what I mean? You just get the bug for it. And
of course.
It's great fun getting right into a character and just exploring it.
And it's interesting you saying that the editorial process took so long and there was so much back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I think from talking to other writers, then that's something that you'll spot yourself, probably going forward. So has it been a hard business writing this?
Hard slog, aye. It's a difficult few years in general. I quit my job in 2018, so I was working at a sports shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on minimum wage, and I thought, well, it's not as if I'm gearing up a career. If I quit this job and the writing doesn't go well, you can always get a job in another sports job, it'll be fine. So it wasn't like a gamble or anything. So I decided I'd quit my job, but I wasn't making enough money, anywhere near enough money to support myself.
Yeah.
Doing that, I just kind of had this idea in my head that I need to be a full-time writer, that's when I'll be there. Right, I'll just try and do it now, how hard can it be? And then I just wasn't mature enough, wasn't responsible enough, wasn't disciplined enough. Just all these things I just was not ready. And it affected my writing, and I didn't enjoy it. I was hating it. It put a lot more pressure on me because writing this book, I was like watching myself kind of accruing debt, just debt building up, getting over my overdraft.
Yeah.
But just absolutely telling myself that if this book is really, really good, you could get a 6-figure advance and all your problems will be solved. But it doesn't work like that. Just totally delusional, man. And that affected my kind of mental state. I was really fucking depressed and anxious, getting all the time just miserable and trying to write, and I was like, my God, this is hell. And then but
did you feel pressure? So what age were you when the first short story collection came out?
Would that have been 25, just about to turn 26.
So that's young for someone to get quite a lot of. I don't know how successful they were in terms of sales, but certainly in terms of profile, they were reaching people that wouldn't normally read books. There was definitely that kind of effect. Aye. So you'd for a first collection of stories, you had quite a high profile. Did you feel the pressure? And then you had the second collection that again did very well. Did you feel the pressure going, I have to write a novel now?
A wee bit, aye. Because I really thought when the second book, HWFG, came out, I was like, right, give myself 2 years and get the next one out. And 2 years vanished into the distance. That became 4, that became now 6 nearly. But aye, there's a lot of pressure. It's when, when I was writing the A2 books, it felt like writing was still a hobby for me, and it was just something I did on the side, and something that made me happy, and that I did like for a laugh because I enjoyed it. And then all of a sudden I had a career, you know what I mean? I was like, right, next book needs to be as good as them. I need to make sure it's good, I need to make sure it gets good reviews, I need to make sure it makes money to support myself, and all this pressure, and the thing that you used to do just because you loved it, you need to do it for a living, and it really sucked the joy out of it. I really didn't enjoy that part of it, you know what I mean? A lot of pressure. I just kind of wasn't ready for that. I wasn't expecting it to do so well, which I'm so grateful for. But I do kind of wish it happened when I was a wee bit older. I was more ready for it. And
because I think I remember you were doing like open mic things and reading them there, almost like kind of comedy, short skits and all that, which they really kind of work as. But you said you gave up working in the sports shop, and I remember at least one story that was definitely set in there, so it gives up that kind of source of stories to come. But I know that you've been working in prisons. Are you working in there at the moment?
Aye, so
is that a kind of writing job?
Aye, so started working in the jails about 2 years ago. So through the Scottish Book Trust, I was going in and doing kind of writing workshops with prisoners. And I absolutely loved it. For the first time I did it back in like 2017, I just fell in love with it. It was just great fun. You know what I mean? You get in, prisons are fascinating places. Do you know what I mean? And you go in there and you're kind of a wee bit scared the first time you go in. You're like, my God, what's this going to be like? What are these guys going to be like? And then you sit down with them, talk to them. You're like, oh, you're really quite normal. You're really interesting as well.
Yeah,
this is great fun. You know what I mean? Most of these have just been dealt quite a shit hand in life, and you just want to try and take something about it and get better. So I was kind of dating every few months. I would get asked to go into a different jail. This was going until kind of like all the way through, and I was kind of really skint writing this book. And then 2023, I went into Glenorchy prison. I was doing a thing in there, and I was in dire straits, and I was like, just brass naked, just ask for a job, just see if there's a way you can do this full time. And they were like, absolutely, we need we're looking to deliver like creative writing programmes, would you like to do it? Yes, absolutely. Sign me up, shake hands, do it, no matter what, don't care what the wages I'm in. And then so get employed through Fife College, started off as kind of creative writing tutor, and then I did the wee qualifications myself while I worked in there, did courses and that, so now I'm an English tutor in the jail, so I teach creative writing, English, and then English for speakers of other languages as well. So it's great fun. So I've been doing that full time now for the last 2 years. For last year I've just been in Lomas. Previously I was in Berlin and Glenorchy, and did a few shifts in Pullman as well. It's the happiest I've ever been. It's the best job in the world, hands down.
Fantastic.
Love it.
And do you think in a way that job and I guess the security that comes with it allowed you to go and finish Hermit?
I
mean, when you talked about I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to be a full-time writer, and the pressure that must put on yourself, I can imagine. But here you go, right, I'm now doing something almost that I can leave that behind, leave the novel behind for a while. And
that's what because you're getting into the jail and load your phone out and so for kind of 7-8 hours a day, you're disconnecting from the outside world,
of course,
which is really nice. You're just, nothing matters out there, you're just focused on your work, the guys you work with, and it's really a nice wee break for all that. You know what I mean? They would hate me for saying that. You know what I mean? Like, they're stuck in there, but
I know. Absolutely, of course they would.
I know.
Yeah, if you listen to this, he's talking about his own experience. I totally. But I mean, over the year, not for a while, but I used to go to quite a few different writing classes, and just to hear other people's ideas and work, it really stays with you. I would never have thought of writing about that. I would never thought you would have written that. I can remember examples of all of those things. Is that the kind of thing that you get there?
Aye, that's it. The ideas the guys come up with are fascinating. You know what I mean? A lot of them are writing their life stories. They think that's a kind of therapeutic thing that to write their life story and talk about their childhood and where they are now and then their hopes for the future and stuff, and they find it really therapeutic. And and then just some are totally off the wall, writing mad short stories, mad novels, like just the funniest poetry you've ever read, and it's so fun.
Yeah,
just love it, man. And it's kind of gave me that buzz for writing again. And they're getting really excited.
Yeah, I totally get that. Absolutely.
That, when you're saying to them, right, you work on that tonight, let me read it tomorrow, and I think, God, they're doing that in the jail. How can I not do it in the house? I need to do it, and if they're doing it under the circumstances, how can I not do it? You know what I mean? And then it kind of sparked me into life. And
did you ever workshop any Hermit with them, or will they be reading it for the first time when it?
They'll be reading it for the first time, aye. So workshop a couple of short stories with them, because I'm really honest.
Yeah.
So give them a short story and I'll go, I don't like that one, Chris. Alright, cool. What should I change? It's just shite. Just do something else.
Did they know your short stories before any of them?
No, well, some of them did. I'd worked with I'd done kind of workshops with them, kind of maybe once or twice. Some of them kind of half remembered me, like, you're that guy, that came in with the book. Aye.
Yeah.
And then some of the times, I'll be talking to one of the guys who knows about my work on the outside, and then another guy will overhear them, like, you write books? Aye. Yeah. It's really, really funny, you know what I mean?
And I mean, these are hugely important aspects, introducing sometimes for the first time to, different arts. I know at Berlin, he's got a long history of that, going right back to the art centre where Jimmy Boyle was doing it back in the 70s. And, and all of these things are under threat these days, but have you found, whether it's schools, whether it's secondary education, or whether it's the prisons, that there's a real engagement with that when people really get into it?
Definitely. People love it when you go and talk about the arts, whether that's, art in general, painting, drawing, if you can talk about writing, if it's people get in doing kind of drama groups, like dance groups and stuff, people love it. It's a wee something different for the normal curriculum, and giving people a chance to express themselves and have a freedom, and getting them to maybe engage parts of their brain that they've not used before, and open their eyes to things that they've never been exposed to before. And I think it has a huge effect on people. And
I guess going back to Hermit, I mean, Jamie really is in his own self-made prison. He's locked down, if you like, and he just, am I right? There's a bit where he tries to get out of the house, and actually it's almost, because he has panic attacks,
that's right.
Major panic attacks. Yeah, so that's interesting in itself. Here you got, you think, well, what's the stereotype? Oh, it's a lovely day, go out and smell the flowers or whatever, run through the grass or whatever it may be. That'll be. But you hear someone who can't do that. He can't get out. So his whole life as it is, I was going to say within four walls, but he does go down to the kitchen and make his burgers for breakfast and back up. But his whole life is basically online or in his room. That kind of.
He's in wee prison,
Yeah, he's on. Yeah.
It's kind of. I'm a bit of a hermit myself, so it was kind of nice. I kind of knew that feeling of no wanting to go out. Just Jamie takes it to an extreme.
Yeah.
But I'm just much happier in the house.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. Definitely. And where I did see you sometimes over the last few years was up in the telly. Sometimes you would pop on there. Did you enjoy that?
Loved it.
Yeah.
It was really good fun. I did that. We adapted HINGS for BBC Scotland, so we had 3 of the stories.
That's right.
HINGS on iPlayer. Loved making them.
Yeah, they were great.
I got to kind of be on set where they were filming, and they got me to be a kind of like Rod Serling, Twilight Zone kind of presenter, like introduce each story and then fade away into the darkness.
Are they still on iPlayer, do you know?
I don't think so. They come up, they go off and on.
Yeah.
And iPlayer, I think they rotate kind of content every now and again. Then we made a documentary. I asked, do you want to make a documentary for the BBC? It was like, obviously, what's that about? About banknotes, about the people in banknotes.
Yeah.
That's quite cool, actually. I'd like to do that. And then I did one about, it's called Let's Talk About the English. So it's about Scotland's relationship with England. And I loved making that. When we were recording it, I was like, this is so balanced. Nobody could possibly be annoyed at this.
Of course.
And then we announced it. everybody went mental at me. There's all these unionists saying that it was xenophobic and all that towards English people and stuff. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
You don't even watch them, mate.
I know that'll be the thing. That's the, and they won't even watch them. Immediately, folk will take offence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they were great. They were really good.
Enjoyed making it. Hopefully we'll get to do something else in the future. Nothing in the pipeline as yet, but hopefully. We'll
and what about Hermit? Now that you've had that out and published, is it out now?
As we record, it's out a week today.
So nice one. And which is the 27th. I found my math. Am I right? And have you got events lined up for it? Do you know? Or
we do, so we're in Waterstones on Gill Street on Monday. That'll be the 20th.
Yeah,
Monday
24th, I think.
Aye, Monday 24th we're in Waterstones on Gill Street, and then on Tuesday we're up in Stirling at the Book Nook.
Oh yeah.
Wednesday we're in Portobello Books, and then on the Thursday we're in Toppings and Co in St Andrews. So
very nice.
Getting right out there, feels like a proper book tour.
Yeah, nice one.
As well, a couple of months ago the publishers got in touch with me and they were like, "Do you want to do an event in Bristol?" I was like, "I don't know why I'm doing Bristol, but aye, let's get a go." So I've been in Bristol. If anybody's listening to Bristol,
it's a great place, Bristol.
Is it?
Yeah, it's jumping. So, yeah. So yes, if you're listening in Bristol, I've got a couple of pals down there.
I'm begging you to come. We bums on chairs, man.
And have you even been able to consider what you might write next, or is it all about Hermit at the moment?
I know it's all about Hermit. In between, I had a wee break in between rounds of editing. I think I had a wee 2-3 months break. I kind of tentatively started writing something else, a wee bit different again. Maybe slightly more in keeping with my short story collections. A wee bit more. I wanted to write something a wee bit more light-hearted.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I can totally understand that.
Getting bogged down in incels and stuff. I wanted to write something. I don't need to espouse about masculinity or incels or misogyny or anything, so I thought I'll do something light-hearted, so I'll get slightly more light-hearted, kind of comical, farcical novel bubbling away.
Excellent.
The way it's going though is probably going to be another 6 years, the same as this one took, so we'll
and then after that it'll be the end of the world, or it could be the end of the world before then. That's the way we're going. Chris, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me. I really love Hermit. It's been great to read you again after a while, and I'm just delighted that it's with us and that folk can get to read it.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, thanks very much. It's been great coming on again, so aye, thanks a lot.
We won't be another 6 or 7 years hopefully next time.
Absolutely not.
And we'll be back soon with someone completely different. Cheers.